Welcome back to another episode of Let Us Be Sustainable. I wanted to clarify my last video when I said I was curious about the collection of pollen from bouquet roses from the supermarket or the grocery store. I want to be clear. I went to Lidl's and purchased their bouquet spray roses, and they have this Rainforest Alliance compliance. So I know that they're very particular about pesticides and working with the environment. So that's the one I chose. There's more information on their website if you want to check them out. And you want to look for the freshest possible bouquets to collect the pollen from. And you want to make sure that they're at this kind of a stage. They're just breaking open to collect pollen from. So I'm going to get ready to do that. And these particular bouquets came with the cultivar names on them. So this particular pink one happens to be Sweet Sensation. I don't know if you can see that. It's there. And then this one is named Babe. So is it possible to get viable pollen from the bouquet rose? Well, we're gonna find out. I did it with the last set, and I'll let you know an update on that. I'm just gonna collect the pollen here so you can see what I'm doing, and then update you in the next 24 hours. For you, it'll be like a few seconds of how the pollen looks like after I collected it. All right, so let's get to that. Be right back. Okay, we're gonna get ready to emasculate these 4 blooms and to see if their pollen is ready for collection. I'm gonna write the name of the pollen cultivar on this so that I don't forget it, because it's and I'm gonna do it on the container as well, because all pollen look alike, so you can easily mess that up. And here we go. And we're doing Babe. And here we go. And you can, if you look closely, the pollen sacs look pretty decent. They look pretty fresh. They look pretty fresh. And now we just remove it. And technically this is what you would do to emasculate a bud on a rose, and you would place the pollen here to pollinate your rose. That little step I just did with removing it, and if I can do it one more time so you can see what I'm doing clearly and it's not out of the camera, because it's kind of hard to do this And you're standing on the other side of the camera, not seeing what you see. I don't see what you see. And there they go. Just try not to pull off the pollen sacs, because that's what you want to collect. Am I getting off screen? Sorry. I'm trying to stay in the visual screen here. Then you take your nail and you just scrape it right off. And they should fall in a little container. And that's it. You remove all the little petals pieces off, and then you let this dry uncovered for 12 to 24 hours, and the anthers should dehisce, in which it means that they will open up and release their pollen, and the pollen which should be in here tomorrow morning, and then you can use this to pollinate whatever you want. And that's basically it as far as removing the pollen sacs from the rose buds. That's it, basically. Yeah, that's it. Now you just wait until this dries out, and you should have pollen in the morning. So be very clear about that. But you got to make sure that your bouquets are as fresh as possible, so that you can collect the pollen, and most likely it should be viable. I'm hoping, and we'll get proof of that soon enough with the ones that I already did. I'm gonna try again with this pollen. I mean, it's really late in the season. If it takes, it takes. It doesn't, it doesn't. But it doesn't stop me from trying. We'll see. So let me finish this up, and then I'll show you what we have afterwards. Be right back. Okay, so here's what I collected so far. Sweet Sensation and Babe. That's the amount of pollen anthers I collected. They should dry overnight for at least 12 to 24 hours. They will dehisce and release the powdery pollen. And that is what I did for these bouquets, and I will use them to pollinate anything that's open right now, and I will try to harvest it right about November 10th. If weather permits, I'll leave them a little longer, because the longer time they stay on the actual mother plant, the more probability that the seeds will be viable. So I will continue this video tomorrow so that I can show you the pollen powder coming off of these two, and we'll take it from there. So I will see you in a few minutes. Okay, it's been the next day. It's actually the next morning. It's about 10:30 in the morning, and I woke up to, I don't know if you can see the pollen on the sides of, well, maybe here. See at the bottom? You can see the granules. We give this a good shake. And you should be able to see the pollen collect at the sides. And this is what you're going to use to pollinate whatever roses you have available. And remember, this came from those bouquet roses. This one came from Sweet Sensation, which is the pink one. And this one, if you see carefully there on the corner, is the pollen from the cultivar Babe. And remember, these came from those bouquet flowers. So I'm going to try them on a few of the blooms I have available opening now, and we'll see if they'll take. It's going to rain today, so I'm going to have to make a makeshift umbrella of this. I'm just going to cut this straight down and use some tape because I don't want the pollen to be washed away by the rain. So I'm going to use this to cover it, and I'll leave some holes for ventilation, and these little gift bags to cover the bloom so that this bag doesn't fly away. But this is going to act like a little umbrella, keeping the pollen on that bud for the rest of the day, because I need it to stay there for the entire day so it can travel down to the ovaries. So once the pollen gets on the pistons of the rosebud, it takes some time for it to travel to the ovaries, and this is going to give it the chance to get to where it needs to get to before the rain. Alright, so let me get that and I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, so we are emasculating again. This time we're doing it on the actual shrub. Trying not to get in the way of the camera. See, the sepal's already down, which means this rose is ready to receive pollen. And you want to remove all of the male anthers, which contains the male pollen, because we don't want this pollen on this rose. We want to put the pollen that we just harvested on this particular rose. Okay, now I'm gonna use Bebe on this particular one. I can usually use it with a little tiny paintbrush, but since this bud is flexible, I'm just gonna run it to get the maximum amount of pollen on these pistons. And I'll see if I can bring that a little closer. Won't focus. Well, okay, you can barely see the pollen, but you get the idea. All of that pollen is on there, and that is a successful cross-pollination, and hopefully this pollen is viable and it will take and start forming hips very soon. So that's all you have to do. Push back. And now I'm going to cover it because it is supposed to rain today, and I want this pollen to get the best possible chance of. So like I said, I created these little baggies out of Ziplocs, like a little umbrella. It has a hole for ventilation because I don't want it to bake. And then we just simply slide it over. And I have the name of the cultivar and the date that I pollinated it. And then I go one little step further because I don't want the little baggie to fly away. It'll act like a little shade cloth. And that's it. That's all. That's all you got to do. And bag it up. And then later on in the day, I'll come back and remove the plastic because you just got to keep it there long enough for the pollen to make it to the ovary. That's it. It takes about 7 to 8 hours for that to happen, depending on the temperature and the weather. But if I were not to cover it and it rains, it'll wash off the pollen, and I don't want that to happen. So that's it for now. I'll continue some pollination. I'll let you know how these do. I just wanted to be clear on what I did with the store-bought bouquets. So if anybody wants to attempt it, this is what I did. This is how I do it. And if you have any questions, any comments, put them down below and I'll do the best I can to answer them. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Now, what I forgot to mention earlier was that once the plastic is on, it's just an umbrella for when it rains after I put on the pollen. But once a few hours have gone by, like 7 or 8 hours, I take them off if the rain has passed, because I don't want the next day to come on and the sun were to come out, otherwise they would bake. So this is just for the rain. So after you just finished pollinating, because you want the pollen to be able to reach the ovary, and it has to remain on there for at least 8 hours. At least that's what I believe, because otherwise it gets washed off. So you got to give it a chance to get to the ovary. On a chance that it's going to rain, this protects it from getting washed off. But you don't want this on a full sunny day, because then you'll bake it. So remember to take it off on the following day or after the rain has passed, if you have already spent 8 hours on. Yeah, look at this little sweetie helping me pollinate. Well, perfect ending to the video. So just let me know what you think, and I'll catch you on the next one.